Create your life story. Memories. What exactly are they, and why do they become cherishable over time? You can't touch, see, hear, smell, or taste them, yet they stay in our minds for better or for worse. Is there a particular area in your brain designated for them? Or is there something inherent neurologically that makes memory storage and application pervasive throughout the entire brain? At this point, we don't really have a clear picture about all this, and we don't want to speculate too deeply about epistemology or the study of knowledge acquisition, but we do want to make a value claim on how we ought to live our lives, particularly for anyone feeling stuck in a routine whose memories are fading into each other. A life full of experience and full of many people that leaves you with a mental catalog of stories to tell at the end of it is a life towards which we ought to aspire. Now meet Rob Perelman, an Emmy award-winning professional poker tournament champion, former alternative rock band manager turned Uber driver. He's here with us to share his travel stories ranging from his time with Blink-182, the Ataris, Yellow Card, and other bands, to his experience as a professional gambler and a contributor to the new shared economy. Hey, welcome to Do This With Your Life. My name is Vincent Diiso. I'm here, as always, with Lewis Risk, and we've got a very interesting guest in store for you guys today. His name is Rob Perelman. Met Rob Perelman a long time ago. Actually, we've been friends for about 6 years.
7 years, yeah.
7, something like that, man. It's crazy. But this guy over here, he's traveled around the world. He's won a professional poker tournament in Las Vegas. What else have you done that's been like just out of this world?
I have an Emmy award.
You won an Emmy. The guy's
Yeah,
won. Okay,
I
you won
have
an Emmy.
on my wall is a gold record from the band Ataris and a platinum record from Yellow Card. Worked with bands for a bunch of years.
You were the manager, basically.
I was a tour manager, so I was on tour with them, taking care of stuff. Worked with Blink-182. What else have I done? Something else. I'm sure I've done some other things.
All right,
We'll get through it.
And you've got tons of cool travel stories.
Yeah.
And that's kind of who you are. But the real question why we're here today is to figure out how you got to be this guy.
Right.
Because you're approaching 40. Is that
Yes.
correct?
I mean, can we just say 30?
All right. Yeah.
I thought you said no throwing under the bus.
Oh yeah. Of course.
Yeah, no, I turned 40 at the end of this year, and I thought I would be dead before I turned 40, and here I am. So like,
40 is the new 30.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm not even concerned. Like, what is 40? Like, what is 39? They're just numbers.
a number.
It really like the fascination with like even number 10 year. I don't whatever.
Yeah. Whatever. I know it's all.
It doesn't matter. I don't feel 40. I don't look 40. So
You definitely don't come off as a 40-year-old
yeah, no.
man.
I have 40 years worth of stories though. That's
Exactly.
If I start telling stories,
Dude,
then they
you
slowly
have-
figure out how old I am.
240 years.
Right,
worth of
I think
stories,
so,
As
yeah.
far as I remember.
Thank you.
But how did you get to this point? Can you just like rewind the clock a little
Yeah,
bit? Take us back to
so-
even like your childhood.
Right,
what kind
right.
of kid were you? What kind of teenager were you? And how did you develop your philosophy on life?
So going back, my parents got divorced. I'm from Arizona. Parents are from Canada. My parents got divorced when I was like 10, and then we moved to LA. My mom was about to remarry a guy, and he was killed in a car accident right when we moved to LA. Basically, like kind of tore apart my family. My sister moved back to Arizona to live with my dad. My mom was obviously destroyed. She was in a 15-year marriage and then was like lost the love of her life. And so she was basically depressed in her room, and I was in my room. It was just me and her in LA. And I found music to like kind of get me through this. Started listening to the radio, getting into bands, and then we moved to San Diego so she could be near her aunt, or my aunt, her sister. So I spent the rest of my childhood in San Diego, and that's where I really found music as kind of like the therapy to what I was going through in life.
All kinds of music or just certain genre?
Yeah, I mean, it was more like alternative music. I was in this radio station K-Rock in LA, if you know that one. It was like world famous where they broke bands. When I went to San Diego, I met this girl in high school, my first semester, and she's like, oh, there's all these cool San Diego bands that are like up and coming. And she showed me bands you've never heard of, like Rocket from the Crypt and Lucy's Fur Coat, all these like big San Diego bands at the time.
What year is this?
It was like 92, 93.
Okay.
Blink was just starting out. I hadn't heard of them yet, but they were like in that group of bands. Blink, San Diego was supposed to be like the next Seattle, where all the Pearl Jams and Soundgardens were supposed to come from. So it was this huge scene, and I got really into the music. And I said, it was, Wayne's World was right around that time.
Wayne's World.
And I was like, I'm gonna do a public access TV show. I'm like, whatever, 14 years old.
Yeah.
So I started going to these concerts, and I would film some concerts with like my camcorder, and I was going to edit and make a public access TV show because I was really into video. And it never happened, but I made a website, like one of the first websites before anybody was on the net. I made a website dedicated to San Diego music at like 15 years old.
Is it still around?
No, long gone. I didn't even have a domain name. It was like under somebody else's site. And
It's yahoo.com.
I was like labeled this internet whiz kid in San Diego. I had newspaper articles written about this 15-year-old kid who's making websites. This is like, I'm talking like no graphics, just text. And it was like band concert listings and information of the bands. But like
Revolutionary at the time.
I became, I was like ahead of the curve, you know?
Yeah.
I was a loser in high school. I didn't talk to anybody. I would just go home and be on my computer. So I figured out the internet and made websites. So
back in the dial-up days.
Yeah, for sure. So slow. I mean, I don't even know how I got the internet. I had to like bluff my way into getting an account. So anyway, I traveled down this road, and I ended up like being in the music industry. Started a record label, put out a video compilation, a VHS. Do you remember VHS?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, we're old. VHS video compilation of like music videos that they never played on MTV, or they play at like midnight. And I started passing around to my friends. They said it was awesome, so I made it. Called up the record labels. I'm 16 years old. Hi, can I get this video? And so one of the videos was Blink-182. I got Eminem's, their first music video. And it was on the compilation. And I knew them from San Diego, and we'd chat. And I'd be like, hey, thanks for being on the video, blah, blah, blah. So
you contacted them?
I saw them at a show, and I said, hey, I'm doing this video. Will you guys be on it? And they said, here's my manager's number. So I got their video.
Before they were famous, you can kind of go up to them after the show, talk to them.
They used to go to shows all the time, just like me. They were music fans. They were like a couple years older than me, but I'd see them all the time. And I wasn't ever a fan, but I'm like, hey, what's up, Mark? How you doing? Nice to see you.
It's Mark Hoppus.
Yeah. And I'm like, hey, man. And we were always friendly in the hallways. We'd see each other at shows. And so, yeah, he was like, yeah, it's good for them. It's exposure for their band to be on my compilation, and it helps me. So it's a win-win. Of
course.
So I had
do they go to your high school?
They do it at the same high school. Mark, I went to Rancho Bernardo High School. Mark went to my high school, but he was older than me, so I didn't know him from school.
Yeah.
Tom went to the other high school, Poway, but we were all in the same neighborhood.
Okay.
So I did their video, and then this guy I knew that was in a band helped me make graphics for the first time, and we made a website to sell my video. And we worked really well together. He did the graphics, I did the like HTML, and after we finished, he's like, we should do a band website. And I was like, okay, well, who? He's like, Blink, they're like getting some, like, go ask them. And I was like, you think? And he's like, okay. So I'm like 16 or something, 17 maybe. So I go to Mark at a show, and I'm like, hey, here's some videos. I did the video. I was like, do you guys want a website? And he's like, what's that? And I was like, do you know in the commercials it's like HTTP, because they used to just read it out, / www, and I was like, whatever. And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, it's like that. He's like, do we need one? And I was like, every band's gonna have one at some point. I was totally like talking, And he's like, okay, here's my manager's number, call him up. Hey, website, blah, blah, blah. I talked to Mark, and he's like, okay, what do you need from us? And I was like, $3,000. He's like, okay, cool. I was like, and that was it. So I made Blink's first website, started hanging out with Mark, went over to his house, got all this raw materials, newspaper clippings that his mom saved, pictures, scanned them all in, made their first website, started going to all these shows, as they were blowing up.
Just for the website?
Yeah.
So you managed their website?
I did their whole website. I was the guy. And I'm responsible for careers. They met, do you know the band Phoenix TX?
I never heard of them.
Okay, so they were coming up at the same time, and we met.
This is the 90s, right?
Yeah,
this
is like late 90s.
Yeah,
It's like
late
97, something around there. And they were we had a chat room before there was message boards. It was live chat, and Mark would just sit in the chat room, and I would sit in the chat room, and Mark's sister Ann would sit in the chat room. We'd just talk to people, and we met this band through the chat room. She ended up getting married to one of the guys. We ended up meeting they got managed by Mark because of this chat room, and had a career. My friend is in a band called Unwritten Law now, and he would never be where he's at without that chat room and me setting all this. It's so weird how I'm responsible for all these other careers that have happened.
You're like a networker, though. You're like you're in the middle.
By accident, of course. I never set out for this goal.
I guess that's life, though, in a way. You know?
And you don't play any music yourself, or
I play guitar. I play guitars. Back to the Future inspired me. That scene where you're like shredding. But my parents screwed up and they bought me an acoustic, so I never really took it too seriously. If they would have bought me electric, I mean, had they known, I probably would be an awesome guitar player. I dabble, but like.
But it's still kind of interesting that you found something that you were passionate about, which is music. And you think about oh, I like music. Doesn't mean you have to play the instruments.
For me, honestly, I've always been like
do things like this.
I've always been a businessman, and my mom tells a story at like my grandfather's funeral when I was like 6 years old. I was like taking everybody's coats and hanging them up, and everybody's like, "Oh, he's so sweet. He's like hanging everybody's coats up." My mom's like, "This does not sound like my kid. What is going on?" So she comes downstairs, and I have a tip cup set up for when they come and get their coat.
Oh, right.
And she's like, "You are not keeping this money. This is going to charity. This is a funeral." And like, but I've always been like, a hustler. You want to make some money. So like, I found music. I'm still very passionate about like music, but like making music was not my thing. It's more fun for me to be involved in the business side. And so, yeah, I made their website, and then that went on to, I started doing concerts in San Diego. I was a promoter, putting on concerts, had Jimmy Eat World and Newfound Glory and all these bands. And then I saw how much fun they were having coming in, playing this show and going out and traveling around. I was like, I want to do that. So I started to be like, can I go on tour with you guys? Can I go on tour? And
finally, so you wanted all the fun and the glory of the music scene, but not having to do the hard work of learning how to play the instruments and writing the music.
Not to mention that like it's like such a huge gamble to like get to the point from being like a garage band to like having people come to your shows and making a little bit of money. You're talking like 1% of those bands. From those bands to actually go on and be like a Blink-182 style band where everybody's heard of them and you're like massive. You're talking like such a small, tiny percentage. And it has nothing to do with your talent, or it's like luck and drive and talent. So like if you're trying to make it as a musician, you're screwed. Like there's no plan there.
And you're talking about in the 90s, and that was another generation, and the industry worked completely differently
right.
back then.
I don't know how it is now, but I assume it's worse and better at the same time.
Now it's about downloads and selling concert tickets.
But I mean, if you're like a local band and you have a good album, it doesn't mean you're going to get famous. And I could name 20 bands from like 10 years ago that are amazing that are now gone. And, like we were talking about Yellow Card. I worked for Yellow Card. They were huge.
Are they still around?
No, they finally broke up. They broke up, they got back together, and they broke up again. And now I think they're really done. But like, I don't know what those guys are doing right now, but they probably all have like normal jobs and like working 9 to 5. And they were like top 10 TRL, like they were like they broke that 1% of like bands that are making money. But they didn't break through like the Blink-182 like we're good forever.
Yeah.
And they were a pretty big band.
So tell us about the tours that you went on.
So after doing the Blink site, then I started doing the tours. I worked for Phoenix TX. We opened for a band called POD. That was like my first tour. POD. See, they're another band that I broke through. They're from San Diego. So we did that tour, and that was like my first paid tour. And on that trip, they're like, "Hey, we just got this tour in Europe for 2 weeks. Do you want to come?" And I'm like, "I need to get a passport." And so I got a passport, and I got paid to come to Europe for 2 weeks. And I was like, "This is the best." And it was like, it was on my birthday too. And I was like, "This is amazing. I'm getting paid to travel." I was like, "This is the best career."
And you're backstage with all these.
Yeah,
guys?
I'm on stage. I'm like fixing guitars at that point and like helping them out. And then like you finish the show and you go out and party with random people and like. You're like, hey, you want to come drink with us? Like, it's crazy. I mean, it's like, it's really fun.
And you were, what, your early 20s at this point?
I was, I must have been like, probably 21.
So like the perfect time
to be
on tour with the band.
Yeah.
Early 20s.
So I did that for like 4 years. And I worked my way up in the industry. When I started, I was like tuning guitars, selling merchandise, whatever it took. And then slowly realized this like hierarchy of what you can do on tour. And tour manager is like pretty much the top. So I'm like, this has got my name on it. Like tuning guitars, sure, I can tune guitars, but like my expertise is like scheduling and like the money and handling that and like calling the venues and saying, hey, we're gonna be here at this time in this hotel and like so I worked my way up to that, and then through Phoenix TX I got a job working for Yellow Card, and this is before they broke, and I met up with them and they're like, yeah, can you come out with us? I was like, sure. So I went out with them in a van. We're like sharing hotel rooms, and they got pretty big until we were on a bus and like flying to Mexico playing for MTV's Road Rules Challenge and crazy stuff. And then I worked for the Ataris when they were big, if you remember the Ataris.
Yep.
Have any crazy stories from like your
stuff I can tell on the podcast?
Yeah.
No. I'm trying to think of anything crazy that's like allowable.
You won't go to jail for
right
now.
I mean, there's so
many.
There's
we've passed the statute of limitations on most of your crimes. So we're okay.
Late 90s.
anything that I want to tell about
Trash
myself.
hotel rooms.
No, I mean, I have a good story. I just told this one online the other day, so it's like printed now.
Okay, all right.
I was telling
It's
these
out
stories
there.
about Blink, and they're like, oh, I toured with this band called The Format. After this is one of the last bands I worked for, and it was the singer of the band Fun. You know Fun?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
it's
Tonight.
We are young.
Yes.
The song. Yeah.
You know the song. It's huge.
Okay.
It's mega
Yeah,
huge.
yeah,
The guy's a celebrity. He's been on Eminem's album. It was his band before he got mega huge, and we're in a van.
What was it called?
The Format. Really good band.
Oh, I didn't realize it was in
Yeah.
another band before.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it was him and another guy and a full band, and so there was 8 of us in a van splitting 2 hotel rooms, like super low budget style. And he's like, why don't we have like a sound guy and all this stuff? And I'm like, because you're not famous yet. Like you'll get there. And he just like, went super far. Like that song was humongous. So they were not big partiers, and I'm used to like all these bands that are enjoying the time on tour,
Yeah.
sometimes to an excess. There was drugs and alcohol and all that stuff. Not for me, but like no judgment. And so I was out with them, and they would like after the show they would go back to their hotel room and like go on MySpace and like engage with their fans, which respect. That's like a good work ethic.
Yeah.
I'm like I'm gonna go out. So I met these girls. I think it was in Nashville. I met these girls at a show, and they're like, "Yeah, we'll pick you up from the hotel. We'll take you out." I'm like, "Sweet." And you guys want to go? No. I'm like, really? I have 2 girls that want to take us out. None of you guys want to go out. I was like, oh my God. All right. It's like, so I went out with these 2 girls. We went to some random bar, and we walk in, and it's like
The whole time you're like, yeah, the drummer's on his way, right?
no, actually, I didn't even have
coming,
it.
just
Yeah, you would think
another
so.
drink.
Yeah.
You would think so, but no, they were being cool. I mean, if you can't get to the band, you get to the guy that's working with them. It's I guess half as cool. So we go to this bar, and we walk in. We're like checking it out. I'm like, oh, it seems all right. Let's get some drinks. And then she's like, oh, that's the drummer of Hootie and the Blowfish over there. And I was like, why do you know that? Like, who knows what the drummer of Hootie and the Blowfish looks like? And she's like, no, that's him. I'm like, I believe that's him, but like, why? Like, why do you know? And he sees we're like kind of talking about him, and he sees us, and he motions for us to come over. So we go over, and it's him and his like manager sitting there like drinking. And he's like, what's up? I'm like, hey man, what's going on? He's like, you guys want to have some drinks? And I was like, sure. So like clearly he is who they say he is. He's like inviting us for drinks, like whatever. He's got a bottle in front of him, and we haven't said anything about him being in Hootie and the Blowfish. So we're chatting. I'm like, oh, what do you do, man? He's like, oh, I'm a musician. I'm like, oh, really? What do you play? It's like drums. I'm like, cool. You got a band or anything? Like, or are you just working on some stuff? He's like, oh, I'm in this band, Hootie and the Blowfish. I'm like, no, you're not, dude. Come on. And I was just totally like just messing with him. Yeah. And I made him like sing a song for me to prove it or something like that. And
I don't want to be with you.
Yeah. and I was like, I'm just fucking with you, man. She told me that you're like in Hootie and the Blowfish. She's like, oh, you asshole. So we drink until the bar closes. He closes his tab. I like lean over as he signed the check. It's like 4 figures. It's like $1,000, something like that at a bar. I have no idea what he drank. And he's like, let's go back to my hotel and like raid the mini bar. So we go back to his hotel room. We raid the mini bar. Party till like 5 a.m. I end up with one of the girls in his bed. We're in a 5-star hotel. I'm in his bed. He's on the floor with the other girl. What a champ. I've known this guy for like 3 hours. He's the rock star, and I'm in his bed. And then like the next morning I wake up, I'm like, Sonny, thanks, man. Like one of the best nights ever. And I leave, and that was it. And like I have his number. I texted him years later. I saw him in San Diego. He put me backstage at a concert.
Oh wow!
And I'm like, he's never gonna remember me. Like who I like, he doesn't know who I am. And I walk backstage.
Nashville.
He's like, Rob, what's up? And he hands me a bottle of Jack Daniels, and he's like, take a shot. I'm like, this guy's the coolest guy ever. Like,
was he the only member of the band that went out?
Yeah.
Oh really?
I mean, the rest of the band was there, and I think he introduced me to like, I don't care.
He was the crazy guy of the band, though.
But he was awesome. So that's probably one of like my most memorable tour stories of like.
That was probably when they were at their apex, right? Their most
famous. Oh yeah,
famous.
for sure. It was like right in the mix. It was just crazy. It was just so weird to like run into this guy, and he's like invited us out, and like I'm hooking up with a girl in his bed. Like that's just cool, man. if I'm Sonny from Hootie and the Blowfish, I'm like, you can take the floor or like get out of my room. I'm gonna hook up with this one girl. Like you can leave now. I showed you a good time. Get out now, right?
Generous.
And he's just like, yeah, take the bed, no worries.
Very generous drummer.
So that's a good story. That's like PG-13, I think.
Right. Yeah. Well, you left out the good details, so we appreciate.
I don't really remember the good details.
Well,
we were really drunk, but that was a fun.
Well,
night.
hey, you know what? You did introduce him to the women.
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
I brought him
over. Yeah, exactly. It was perfect situation. And then the manager. I remember the manager. We were like, he was just like there because it was like he's like the 5th man. And we go back to his hotel room, and at one point he's just like, "Well, I'm gonna leave," and he just like walked around the hotel for like 2 hours and like just made himself scarce.
So traveling around with the bands, did that give you kind of a travel bug? And when that was over, you wanted to start traveling around the world, or how did that work?
Yeah, so I really enjoyed that career. It's exhausting though, and that was really, you said it was the perfect age. That's exactly how I describe it. I wouldn't do it now, because like especially in a van, not in a bus, you're driving to the next town. You're literally living out of a suitcase. You're not sleeping. You're trying to party too much. It takes a toll on you, man. Everybody's sick all the time. You're like with the same group of dudes you're fighting. It's hard, man. It's really hard.
But when you're 22, 23, you can handle it.
You can handle it, but even then, it's hard. It's just like people are pissed off at each other. I got fired from Yellow Card over a girl that was like so stupid, and like I've made up with those guys since, and I apologize, and he apologized.
You took his girl, or
No,
what?
he took my girl.
Oh,
Yeah. I met this girl on another tour, and then I went out with Yellow Card, and he stole her from me, and then he lied to my face about it the next day, and I found out a month later that he lied to me, and I was more pissed. I wasn't pissed about the girl.
Do you want to say who? Which member? Or
yeah.
It was
Let's
the
call
violin
him
player.
out.
Call him out.
Let's call him out.
Sean, the violin player.
You're on
violin,
notice.
Yeah.
Violin player.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was the guy. He got the girls
So
every
he's a
night.
violin player.
So here's the thing. In one band, there's always one guy that gets the girls every night. There's like
Yeah.
the one handsome guy, the one that's like really charismatic, usually. And he was that guy. Every night he could get whatever girl. And to me, it was like, okay, I have this girl finally. I'm not in the band. It's really hard for me to like, hold on to this girl and not lose her to the band. So I had this girl, and he took her from me. And I was like, dude, first of all, we're living together. We're like brothers. You don't do that to your brother. And second of all, he lied to my face the next day. And like a month later, I found out that he lied to me. And that's what really got me enraged. I was like, he didn't just like, I told him the next day, I'm like, forget it. I don't care. And he's like, no, nothing happened. I'm like, dude, I know you. Like, you're a sleazebag. Like, something happened. And he just like, nothing happened. And as it turned out, something happened. And that just, to me, and still to this day, I think that's justifiable. Like, you just don't lie to your friends like that. Just admit it and move on. And like, I'll be mad for a day. And then I'm like, it's just a dumb girl. It doesn't matter. But instead, he made me look like a fool. And I'm talking to this girl still. I thought nothing happened. Mm-hmm. So once I found out, I like gave him the silent treatment, and it's kind of an awkward position when he's like 1/5 of my employer and I'm not talking to him. He's like, I need this before the show. I'm like, great, I'll give it to you. And then I'd walk away. It was really awkward. So I got fired, deservedly so. And then years later, I had a bunch of like remorse about how I handled it. And I tracked him down, and I was like, hey man, I'm really sorry. I handled myself really poorly. And he's like, dude, it's my fault. And I was like, well, yeah, but I still like, I'm sorry. And he's like, I'm sorry. And we hugged it out, and like bygones are bygones.
The bromance
we
continues.
We were kids,
Right.
we were like 22, 23 or whatever.
Yeah.
This girl, I made up with her too. She found me in Vegas one time, and like we made up, and she's like, I'm married to some guy in a band. And I'm like, yeah, of course, But like, whatever. It's
And she
hard.
cheats on him too.
Maybe. Hopefully not.
With the violin player of another band.
You grow up, you learn from your mistakes, and you.
Yeah.
Now she's with
You
a
know.
cello player.
Yeah, the cello player.
So anyway, after
Moving
touring, touring is really hard because you work for a band and they go on tour, and as long as you get along with the band, you're going to keep going on tour with that band. But then eventually they're going to go in the studio and make an album. And then what do you do for like 2-3 months? You need to make money. So while you're on tour with the band, you're constantly talking to other bands, seeing who can take you out on the next tour. Mm-hmm. So your job is double. One is doing the job that you're doing, and the other is trying to find your next job. And that's really exhausting. Hey, are you going on tour? Does it match up with the dates that I can be available? Blah, blah, blah. I got sick of the hustle. I found poker on my weeks off in between tour, and I started playing poker for fun. And on that format tour, that last tour I did, I remember I was like spending all night at a casino playing poker, like if there was a casino nearby. I was obsessed.
What year was this? Around
This
what
is
year?
2004, 2005,
Okay.
something like that. And so I was obsessed. I was reading books. I was watching TV shows. I was just playing every chance I could. And then
Your favorite movie was Rounders.
probably, yeah. I never like got into it. I couldn't even do quotes from it.
Oh, you can't do quotes from
Every
Rounders?
poker player in the world was like, oh, this quote.
Yeah,
I'm
of
like,
course.
It was a great movie. Don't get me wrong, but I was like more watching the TV shows. I can tell you Hands from a poker show in 2004 that I saw on TV. So I just like fell in love with poker and started playing just like for fun online, and slowly became like, I was like winning like $500, $1,000 online here or there while I'm not working. I was like, this is awesome. And I remember the time where I really thought it could be something. I was supposed to go to a party. My friend's band was playing, and I was late because I'm playing this poker tournament. I kept going deeper and deeper in this poker tournament. I won like 4,000, I think. And I show up to this party, and my friend is on the microphone. He's like, oh, look, Rob, Perelman decided to show up. What up, Rob? Were you playing poker? And I was like, yeah. He's like, how much did you win today? And he thought I was going to say like $100. And I'm like, $4,000? And he's like, oh. And like that was the point where they were like, oh, that's actually like,
It's legitimate.
that's legit.
Yeah.
That's worth being late to a party for. And so I went to Vegas for the summer to like party and play poker just for a summer. And
Did
I
you
was
buy
like,
in the booze?
What's that?
With that $4,000?
I bought more poker. I bought poker books. Like I'm telling you, my life was like all poker. I bought a shelf full of poker books and just like, so I'm like, I'm gonna go to Vegas for the summer, see all my heroes playing poker, play poker, just live, breathe poker.
So you quit cold turkey with the touring.
It wasn't really quitting. I just was like, okay, I'll get another tour and I'm just gonna play poker for a little bit. And like I said, I went to Vegas for the summer and I rented a house for the summer with a guy I met online that plays poker, and we just had a house and played poker and had some drinks. And
Is that when I met you in Vegas?
No, this is way before. This is like 2005.
Because you had that house.
Yeah. Well, after that summer, I was like, why would I go back to San Diego? Like, I'm playing poker. I'm having some success. I'm having fun. It's really cheap to live in Vegas. People think it's expensive, but as a local, it's like half the price of living in California. And I was like, I think I'm going to move to Vegas for like a while. So me and this guy rented an apartment for a year in Vegas. And after a year, I stumbled into like working in poker TV. Just, I'm very lucky in like my job. So like met this guy online. He like makes poker shows when poker shows were exploding. And I used to be a programmer and I kind of helped him out. And then he's like, do you want to work for me? And I was like, yeah, I get to come to these poker shows and watch these guys play poker all day. Yes. And so I started working in poker. And so they had a show there and I'm like, I need to like move here officially. So I bought a house in Vegas and I was like, I'm living in Vegas now. So that's the house you saw. So I bought that house in like 2007. And then I lived a very weird period of my life, which is normal in everybody else's life, where you have a home, you have a job, you have a girlfriend. And I was like, this is not my world. It never felt right, but that's what everybody else does.
You were conforming to society.
Right.
At that point, you felt.
And it just wasn't for me. And if it works for you, that's great. But like, I don't know, this whole path of like, get a job and work for the same person and go to work on Monday through Friday and like find a girl and settle down and have a family. I don't know. It never appealed to me. I mean, if it's the right girl, great. If it's the right job, fine. I loved the job at the time. Now I hate poker, but like then I was just like, I love it. So I got to just play poker all the time. And then when I wasn't working, doing the shows, I could play, traveling around doing poker. It was almost like touring, except there was money.
What's the craziest poker story you have?
The craziest poker story? I mean, a lot of them are like poker nerd stories where like they wouldn't make any sense to you, like hands. I play with some celebs here and there. Yeah, I don't think anything too crazy. I mean, I won a poker tournament. That's probably the craziest one. That's the one I like to talk about. So that was like 2007. I think I got the house and we were traveling. We were going to Monte Carlo to make a poker show and like staying at like nice hotels. We were flying to Europe. We went to London a few times. We went to Paris. And like, it was like touring.
Just to make the show.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And like, I'm getting paid to go and it's like touring, except you actually like are in one place for a week. You can like put your stuff away and like inside the hotel. It was great. It was
and you're playing poker too.
Well, I wasn't playing. I was just working on those trips.
All right.
But then poker wasn't going so well, like the TV stuff, and I was playing poker more like professionally. And I played a tournament right by my house that you were at, and I won it, and it was televised. It was in 2011, and so I won $160,000 in one day, and making the final table, I was like, I'm finally on TV. Like, most of the tournaments I play are not televised. So to make a final table that's on TV is pretty cool. You get to like be like, hey, look guys, I'm really playing poker now. Look, it's there.
Is that like ESPN 3?
It wasn't even, no. It was like ESPN 7. It was it was called
the Ocho.
It was called
ESPN
the Heartland Poker Tour on, I don't even think it had a channel at that point. It was like they buy just network time all over. So it was on like 3 a.m.
It's
and
cable
like
access.
Yeah. It was like a pretty low budget show, but it was like something I could show.
Yeah.
So I made the final table. I'm like, this is great. If I win, I win. If I don't, I don't. I'm on TV. And there was no pressure. I've been working on poker sets for like the last 6-7 years. I've been around TV, and to me, their operation was like this tiny little thing. So I've been around the lights.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me.
You're
I don't,
comfortable.
I'm totally comfortable. The other guys are like, oh my God, this is so nerve wracking. I'm like,
that was a reason why you won. Also,
I mean, it helps. Yeah. I was like, this is nothing.
Yeah.
I remember I was like, looking at my hole cards, and there's like a little camera, and I'm looking at my hole cards, and I'm like, oh wait, did they see it back there? Are they good? Are they good? Yeah. Like I'm very aware of the whole production, you know? And so, yeah, I won the tournament. Amazing. Probably like definitely one of the top 5 days of my life when you win $150,000 on TV. In one day.
Pay taxes on that?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then what happens next?
So when I won the tournament, it was really weird because as a professional poker player, that $160,000 it's great, but it's income. It's what I've worked for. So they're like, what are you gonna do with the money? And I'm like, I'm gonna eat food and pay my rent. And like, I was like, no, do it again. This is on TV. Let's make it. What are you gonna do with the money? And I was like, I'm gonna travel a little bit.
Disney World?
No, Europe. So I've been to Europe for work before. I've been making the poker shows. I've been on tour, but I've never like come here and enjoyed Europe. And I said, you know what? I deserve this. I'm going to go to Europe. And I bought a one-way ticket to Europe. And I came here and ended up spending 3 months traveling around Europe and fell in love. Like I love Europe. I think Europe makes so much more sense. I'd love to live here. And I spent 3 months. I went back, and then about 6 months later, I was like, I need to go back. And I came back for another 3 months, and then that started a trend where I sold my house in Vegas and spent 4 years traveling and spent probably 50% of my time in Europe, renting places in Budapest for like a month, 2 months at a time in between the poker shows, and just like fell in love with traveling and spent 4 years nonstop, no home, just traveling place to place.
Do you feel like you have the personality that gets really obsessed with something? The way you were kind of obsessed with music, then you were obsessed with poker, and then traveling, and then you just suddenly get bored of it.
Yes.
And move on to something
100%.
else.
I wouldn't say obsessed per se, because really only poker I was obsessed with. Music was just like, it was interesting. How I view it, and this is a big problem, is I like something and I want to like learn all about it and get really good at it. And then, okay, check. Okay, I won a poker tournament. I was a successful poker player. We're done with that industry. Let's move on to something else. And then you do something else. And then you want to do that for a while and then check. I want to have the best stories at the end. I want to have a bunch of experiences. I've had 3 full careers now, and poker television I stuck with for so long. I ended up hating it, but I did it because I'm like, if you stick with an industry, you'll end up getting more money and actually moving your way up. And if you keep moving from industry to industry, you're never going to really make any money. So it's like a balance. Do I want to make money, or do I want to like be interested? And so with Poker TV, I stuck with it for like 10 to 15 years before I finally am not done doing it.
And this won an Emmy.
What's that?
This show won an Emmy.
One of the shows we did, yeah, we totally out of the blue.
What was the Emmy for exactly?
So I don't remember the exact title because it's very confusing. It's called a sports Emmy, so it's not like the awards show you see. It's separate. It's more for sports. We were up for 3 different Emmys. We had a show called the Poker Dome in Vegas, and they had 6 amateurs fly out and play for like, I don't know, $5,000, and then if you won, you'd play for $1 million at the end of the season. And we built a custom studio. We took a movie theater and turned it into a poker studio. We had an audience, and I built all the technology with my team. And they had a table with lights in it, and it all connected to my software, connected with the lighting in the system. So we'd record it on a Saturday, and they would edit it and air it on a Sunday. So the award we won, I believe, was for the best studio team for like a quick turnaround show.
Wow.
Essentially. We were up for 3 different ones. The one we really wanted to win was the Technical Achievement Award. And we built all the software from scratch. Like, it wasn't off-the-shelf software that you just like, oh, let's buy this and buy this. The one that won that year was the Super Bowl in HD, which means they went to the store and they bought HD cameras and recorded the Super Bowl and aired it. So it's a little political. That's not a technical achievement to like use off-the-shelf equipment. Ours is, but I still have an Emmy. So like,
Right.
It's still pretty cool.
So they mailed it to you.
No, actually, that's a funny story too. I was like, yeah, we have to buy the Emmy. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, you don't just get the Emmy. Like, it costs money to make the Emmy, but the studios will buy it for their stars. So, like, the stars don't pay for it. The studios obviously buy it for them.
They don't just give you the award?
No, because
really?
it costs money to make, right? So, like,
I have no idea how it works.
So the studios buy it for their stars. So I was like, I talked to my boss. I'm like, well, we're like a 4-person team. Like, are you buying us Emmys? And he's like, yeah, of course. I was like, okay, cool. And then we get a call, and he's like, actually, we're not. And I'm like,
you got to pay for
are
it.
you kidding? And I was like, I can say I want an Emmy without having the
How
award.
much money does it cost?
$375
For one.
For the statue.
For the statue. I could have got a plaque for $150, or I could have got nothing and still.
They charge you for
Yeah.
awards.
So I can still claim I have an Emmy award winner without buying the statue, but like obviously you have to.
You got to have the statue.
So I bought the statue. So I had to
So
pay.
I
for
remember
an
seeing it
Emmy.
on your fireplace.
Yeah, it was on my fireplace, and then it was in storage for 4 years. And then at some point, I was like, "What is this doing here? I'm gonna bring this to Arizona and give it to my mom and put it on her mantle because she will see it every day and be the proud Jewish mother and be like, oh, my son,
My
give me
son.
one." Yeah. So it's at her house, and I can say it and I can show you a picture of it, and like that's fine. She can have it. So yeah, it's at her house.
Wow.
But I had to buy it.
Yeah.
But you have to buy it, right?
Of course. Yeah, I guess so.
I have an Emmy. Oh, can I see it? No, I don't have it. What do you mean you don't have it? I didn't get one.
You liar.
But you said you have an Emmy. I do. It's weird. It's like a virtual Emmy or something.
Interesting.
So I had to buy it.
All right, let's get to traveling.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what were your questions? What you had a question?
Actually, I had a couple questions that are beyond traveling, but did you have some specific travel questions?
No, I just want to hear some crazy travel stories.
Yeah.
Crazy travel stories.
I want to ask you
Yeah.
about more your personality, like what is good about it, what's bad about it, and where your flaws are.
Well, I mean, what we were just talking about is a huge problem for me. Like, I do get bored in a career and I want to do another one and like gain more experience. But then like I said, I'm not going to make any money ever. Not that I'm driven by money. I thought I was when I was younger. I thought I was going to like be a millionaire. Everybody's like, oh, this guy's starting record label and a production company and all this stuff before I'm 21.
I think there's something beyond that. I think there's something below the surface there.
How so?
That maybe it's going on. You're very energetic. You're very charismatic. You have a lot of luck in life, it seems.
Oh, yeah.
You're lucky. You're lucky.
Super lucky.
But I mean, you also know that like you're not afraid to do things that other people are afraid to, like start a conversation with a stranger, for example. You seem to be. I would be willing to bet my money that you were the one that, like, even when you were a kid, was the most aggressive person going after these more famous people, starting the conversations, getting the ball rolling at least. And
Absolutely.
Then the luck begins.
Yeah.
So maybe can you talk a little bit about how that works for you, and how you find success in networking and being sociable?
It's hard because like I really do feel like I've been lucky in life and having like, I mean, obviously the drive has brought me to this place where I've done all these things, but like finding a job in poker TV, like sheer luck. This guy had a website about a friendly poker league. I said, let me help you out if you need help. And we started chatting, and like next thing you know, because of my experiences, I found this job, this amazing job. So like, that's just luck, but like,
well, it's creating opportunities for yourself also, right? You're getting out there.
And
you're
like,
not
I'm lucky that I was not very sociable in high school, and I would go to class and I would go straight home and get on my computer because that's what I was into. It was never like, let me build a foundation so that the rest of my life I have this amazing computer ability to fall back on, and I can be a programmer, I can do all these things. That was never the plan. Like, that was just luck. I like computers and I like music, so that's what I went with. But like, yeah, I don't know. That's tough, man. I don't think that like, I mean, yeah, going up. I mean, if you look at the example of how I did the Blink site, it wasn't my idea to go say, hey, do you guys want a website? That was my friend's idea. He's the one that said, like, let's do a band website. I said, cool. And he said, do Blink. And I said, okay. I'm the one that went and talked to him. So, like, to your credit, maybe he wouldn't have been the one that, but he knew I knew them better. And I'm like, I have no problem. Like, whatever. He's just Mark. Like, he's not, even now, like, who cares? Celebrity is whatever. They're still human beings.
Yeah, but another thing about your personality is, okay, like with the music, for example, there's a lot of artists out there. You said, you know, they're really good. San Diego was supposed to become the next Seattle.
Right.
And I always found that the artists aren't necessarily business people. And so you have to line up with them, and there has to be some sort of alliance.
It's true. Well, I'll tell you this. One of the interesting things about going on tour, when you're a band coming up, it's really hard to get on a bigger tour. There's a million bands that are decent and are coming up, and as a big band, you get like a list of like 40 bands to pick from of who you want to open up for you. And you're like, I don't know any of these bands, whatever. The way you get on tour is by networking. Mm-hmm. If you're a band, if you're a young band, and you just go to every show in your city and you make sure you're backstage and you meet the guys that work at the club, get yourself backstage because you make yourself a regular there, meet everybody. People are going to want you on tour because you're a fun guy. That's how you get on tour. Your band can suck, but they're going to bring you on tour because this guy is hilarious. We love this guy. Every time we come to town, we party with this guy. He's amazing. What's his band? Yeah, bring him out with us. That's how you get on tour as a young band, which is crazy. So to your, like what you're saying, yeah, it's all networking.
You got to put yourself out there.
You got to put yourself out there. You're never going to get anywhere. You could be the best band ever sitting in a studio, you know, playing your record for everybody. And I mean, that can work. Mm-hmm. You know, there's bands that have started that way. But if you put yourself out there and have an interesting personality and people want you around, then you get these tours and then you build yourself up. And
something Lewis just mentioned is the idea of creating opportunities. But it also seems like when you network, you also offer opportunities in your exchanges. And that's probably how you build success, right? Because you don't just go up and ask somebody for something.
Yeah, no.
You seem like the kind of guy that is going to offer something.
Win-win.
And then, exactly. Right. I think your life is full of win-win situations.
Right. That's true.
And I think that could be a lesson for people.
And actually, I've always analyzed. I haven't talked to like the guys from Blink in 15 something years, and I always analyze it because Mark and I were like really good friends for like a year or two through when I was working for them. Like I'd finish high school and I'd go over to his house and I would just hang out at his house from like 3 p.m. to midnight.
Good family.
What's that?
Good family.
Yeah, it was great.
The Hoppises.
The Hoppises are great. They're great. Yeah, me and his sister got along really well. Even his parents were cool. Like it was great. I loved them. And I always questioned him. I was like, why was I around? Like, there's a million people that were around in those days, like trying to like cling on. And I think the reason why Mark enjoyed having me around is because I wasn't like the regular guy that was trying to get something from them, and I tell this story when they made their second or third video of Josie. He showed it to me. He's like, hey, check out our new video. We just got it back. And he showed it to me, and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, I didn't like this part. I remember I was really cynical, and I was like, I didn't like this part. That was the first thing I said. And he got like kind of offended, and I was like, I mean, I think that's why he had me around, because I wasn't like, that's great, man.
Yeah.
You did a great job. Oh
Not a
God,
yes
you guys
man.
are so funny. I wasn't a yes man.
Yeah.
I would give him like straight up opinions
Critical,
all the
yeah.
time. And he didn't have that. When you're like a band coming up, everybody's a yes man.
kissing your ass.
Everybody's kissing your ass.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like that. I was like, I mean,
You're trying to help him get better.
I wasn't even a Blink fan. When I grew up, they were like
Yeah.
all the jocks in my high school liked them, and I hated everybody in my school. Anything that was popular, I didn't want to be a part of. I was like, Blink? No, I'm not gonna listen to Blink.
Yeah.
It's like, forget it. I hate those guys. Never listen to them.
I'm into Billy Joel.
Are we gonna talk about Billy Joel? Yeah. So yeah, I was like never into them as a band. So like when I started working for them, I mean, I grew to like them. They're not my favorite band. I like them. They've
Yeah.
been a good band over the years, but like, yeah, I was not into them. So like, I feel like that offered a lot of value to him to have this friendship where like I was actually being honest when
Yeah.
nobody else was, except for the people he like grew up with, you know, that were friends with him before they reached this like level of fame. So I mean, I've always been like that. Celebrities are just regular people.
Yeah.
Like treat them as such.
Same flaws.
Yeah, they're all just normal people.
Well,
man.
it's people that are willing to give constructive criticism that are ultimately going to make them better.
Right.
Yeah, they
I
don't
mean,
want
yeah, you're
these
never
yes
gonna,
people.
yeah, you're never gonna get, and I like that video, and I mean, I definitely handled it poorly. I should have been like, that was really funny. I thought it was great. The only thing I would have done differently was like this part. But I mean, I was like 17 years old. I didn't know how to communicate well. So
The
like,
old compliment sandwich.
yeah, exactly. A compliment sandwich.
Are you
But,
in
like,
are you in a Blink video? Any videos?
I am in a Blink. Did you
Really?
know that, or did you just guess?
I did. I'm just asking because
Wow.
you were around those
Yeah,
guys.
so-
Like, which one?
I'm in the Damn It video.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna take a look.
Yeah, it's so.
Maybe Vinny
it's-
can put it up there.
I'll-
I don't
for
think
it.
Vinny could find me. Did you know I was in the video?
I did not know
So
that.
yeah, I don't think. I'd be impressed if you could find me. It's like I'm a background player. So the story was they shot the video at an abandoned movie theater overnight,
Okay.
and they were supposed to invite a bunch of fans and fill the theater with people. And I remember they like forgot to tell their fans or something like that. So it was like me, Mark's sister, and like 3 other people. So when they go in the theater, there's like 4 people. I'm the most visible person inside the theater. You just see like it's like, you know, a blur, but I'm the most visible person inside the theater, and then I'm also before that on the street when they're coming into the movie theater.
You can show us after the
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. But yeah, I'm in the video. That's like my claim to fame. Like, I'm in the Blink video. I should have been in the second one too, but I didn't show up for that one. That was like another drive to LA. I didn't feel like making, but
It's not. What's my age again?
yeah, I was supposed to have a gold record on my wall too,
Uh-huh.
and Mark promised me one. I never got it. And then when Atari's went gold, he knew the story about how Mark never got me one. He's like, hey, you know how Mark never got you a gold record? He's like, I'm getting you one, like 100%. And he got me one. I was like, that's cool, man. Like, that was really nice of you to do. Like,
Is that one with your mom too?
what's that?
Did you give that one?
No,
to
no,
your
those
mom?
are on my wall.
Oh.
Those are on San Diego. Gold records are a lot easier. You put a gold record on
Okay.
the wall. It's like
The
a nice
Emmys are for
decoration.
the
Yeah.
mothers,
That
right?
was
Yeah.
cool. That was-
And then
Emmys
yellow
for the
card.
I mean, Emmys look cool too, I guess.
Emmys, of
A
course,
little
but-
pretentious,
Emmys are
right?
amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
I don't know. I mean, yeah, I guess they could be. I mean, gold
It's
records
just
are
an
kind of
Emmy.
pretentious, but it doesn't like scream like, "Hey, look at me."
No.
Yeah.
It looks like I like maybe bought it at the store for like decoration, you
Right.
know?
An Oscar is where it's at.
Yeah,
Really.
and
If you wanna
that's what you got.
Yeah, of course.
And
Yeah,
then
I've got 10.
yellow card, I actually got fired from them, and then they went platinum. And then I was like, you know what? I was around for like a year and a half of when they became big. So I emailed their manager on a whim, and I said, hey, I don't know if this is asking too much. I really would like a platinum record on my wall. I was like part of the team,
Right,
you know.
yeah.
If I would have stuck with them, I would have got one. I said, listen, I'll pay for it. It's fine. But like this is a
I have
big,
experience paying for
yeah.
Emmys already.
I'm like, actually, that was before I got the Emmy.
I
But
pay
I'm like,
for
this is like-
awards.
I said, I have no problem paying for it.
Yeah.
I would like it on my wall. It's like part of my history. I said, you know what? And they actually came back to me and they said, we're going to pay for it. We're going to get you one. I was like, that's really cool. Even though you fired me, they still like, you know, ponied up the money to pass. So they bought me one. So yeah, I got the yellow card platinum record. Still waiting on that Blink Gold record. If Mark is watching this, I would like that one still.
Come on,
Mark, does Mark watch your
Get
podcast?
up.
I don't
I
think,
see-
I don't think anybody watches
No?
our
Okay.
podcast.
He's one of the 50 people.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to the travel stories.
Yeah.
We did want to talk. Tell us what you learned. Tell us like about Africa and Asia. 'Cause we get a lot of European travelers,
Right,
around
right.
here, but not a lot of people who have really been around the world. So tell us some stories, or in particular, like what you've learned from this and how it's made you a better person.
Man, I mean, I can't really cite anything specifically. I really feel like I understand humans in general from so much travel, just from meeting and talking to people. You learn the differences between somebody that's like living in Prague versus living in San Diego. And then you go to like, I've been to Vietnam and they're just a different way of thinking. And like, there's nothing specific, but I just feel like it's almost like being a psychologist. Like I understand what their upbringing is and what their thought process is now that I've been to these countries. And I feel like it makes me like more empathetic, and like I don't know. It's really hard to cite something specifically, but the more you surround yourself with different types of cultures, and there's a problem in America where people surround themselves with the same group of friends, and it's like confirmation bias where you just get the same feedback from people that have the same opinions. You're not going to grow as a human, and that's actually one of the reasons I left San Diego for Vegas is because none of my friends were going outside of their comfort zone. We're going to the same bar every weekend, meeting the same people, and I'm like. Even then, I couldn't really put it into words, but I wasn't going to grow as a human by staying with the same people all the time. And I'm like, I need to get out, whether it's a different part of San Diego or a different city. And I'm like, I'm going to move to Vegas and just like, it's different. And like, I credit that to like the start of like, you know, traveling internationally and meeting people and like getting different experiences. But it's all just like life experience. You learn something from everything, I think. Like,
Also, how we're all very similar. Doesn't matter the culture.
Yeah,
people
but I mean,
are people.
Every interaction, like if you have an interaction with somebody and you upset somebody, that's going to teach you a lesson about like hopefully, you know, and go, wow, I did this and this was actually not very good. I was told recently by somebody that I was like kind of a negative person, so I've been trying to be more positive.
Who told you that?
Somebody in my life that just, you know,
You're negative.
yeah, well, he didn't like say it like that, but.
Oh.
He pointed out some things that he thought he was being a friend by calling out character flaws. I thought it was pretty rude, but I tried to like take the positive of it and say, okay, well, if I'm being viewed as certain ways, then I would like to, you know, amend my ways. Yeah. But it's all like circumstantial. If I'm out here on vacation having fun, like I don't think Vinny thinks of me as a negative person at all. He probably thinks of me as the super positive guy.
Kind of seem the opposite, honestly.
But like put me in a job where I'm working, you know, and you know, you just have your bad days. Yeah, I can be negative. So I don't know.
And what about like sustaining relationships? Because when you're traveling to all these different places, friendships,
right.
girlfriends, if you think about your family, you know, your mother, you know, people must miss you.
Yeah,
you know,
it's tough.
How do you deal with
that? That's kind of one of the things that like I feel like I missed out on in this life. I did so much traveling; it was impossible to maintain. Like at least starting with like you said, a girlfriend. I had a girlfriend for a while when I was traveling doing the poker shows, and even that was hard just being like a normal travel job, and that didn't work out. And then as I've traveled around the world, met different girls that have been like very interesting to me. But if you're not in that city, how are you going to maintain that relationship? And you try and you go back, and the time and the distance just doesn't make it work. And so it's like it was impossible. I moved back to San Diego 2 years ago with I want to say the goal of like getting a girlfriend, but I go, oh, it's for the first time in a while it's available to me. And that's a weird concept to me. Like for what's normal for everybody else is super, super weird to me. I don't know how you like go out and date. And I feel like I missed the boat on that because I'm not in my 20s anymore. But like,
well, it's never too late anyway.
Yeah.
You're still a young man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Trying. As you remind me, I'm turning 40 at the soundtrack of the podcast. That's great. Yeah. But like, yeah, that's been really hard.
Only to like frame this as a way that you're a wise person,
right?
And well, you have something to offer to our listeners.
People are shocked when they hear that I'm actually 40. They're like, "You don't look 40, you don't act 40," and I'm like, I feel like traveling keeps me young. Like I walk when I can. Like last night, I walked like 30 minutes to and from where I was meeting my friends. You know, rather than take the tram or take an Uber, which is probably what every other American's doing. You know, just pull up Uber.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I can walk. It's 30 minutes, big deal. I don't know. Certain things like that keep you young. But yeah, it is hard to maintain relationships. And I mean, this is the first time we've hung out in 4 years.
Right, yeah.
And this whole trip was me. I've been in San Diego for 2 years, and all my friends from San Diego have normal, like traditional jobs. And I'm doing a job where I'm mostly working on the weekends, so I don't really see them that much. And I really haven't had a lot of friendships in San Diego. I meet plenty of people every day, but they're not my friends. And I've been like kind of lonely this year. And I said, you know what, let me come back to Europe and see my favorite people. And I've kind of dotted around Europe to just catch up. And like, I'm seeing a bunch of people that I haven't seen in years and years, which is really nice. This is probably the most positive you'll see me because I'm in a great mood. Like the weather's nice and like I'm hanging out with cool people that I haven't seen in forever. But yeah, it's hard. I mean, even with Facebook, it's cool because the people I'm seeing, you know, we've talked, I'm sure, in the last 4 years. We've followed each other's posts. I know what you're doing. You know what I'm doing. But
it's
we
not
don't
the
necessarily
same.
talk. It's not the same.
Yeah.
But it's not like when we saw each other, it's not like we have nothing to talk about. What have you been doing for 4 years, man?
Yeah, right.
I know kind of what he's been going through. I know he's got a podcast. Like, that's kind of cool. So you still kind of follow. It's like this low level of like, you know, awareness of these people rather than like before we just fall out of touch completely.
Yeah. But you really need that face-to-face.
Of course,
contact.
you definitely do.
Yeah.
But it's nice that I'm not like starting from zero and I go, dude, tell me, 4 years, man. Wow, what have you done?
Yeah.
Like I know and you know what I've done more
Vinny's
or less.
like,
'cause we
oh,
share.
I won an Emmy. It's like, oh, really? Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, what do you, how many Emmys you got?
Yeah,
I'm broke. I've been buying.
Yeah.
I spent all my money on awards. You know?
You got property. You got that one on me.
Yeah.
You're
Well,
winning.
yeah. I learned that from
I had,
you. You
yeah.
had property.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well for me.
Well, it was a bad time as well
Yeah.
for in the economy as
Yeah.
well.
Oh
at
yeah.
that
It was.
time,
It was.
you know?
That was devastating financially, man. I bought that place for $400,000.
Yeah.
And like 3 years later, it was worth $150.
Ooh.
And I was like, I owe $400 on this. I'm upside down. And I waited it out for a little bit. And I'm like, it's not coming back. So I did whatever he does, walk away from the place and ruin my credit. And I'm like, I'm making $250,000 by walking away. Like,
Yeah, you got to do what you got
yeah,
to do.
you gotta do
in
what you
that
gotta do.
situation.
So, but
And
it's
you're
finally
one of
gone.
many Americans that did that as well.
I was a very late one. I was trying to do the right thing. I was raised like you sign a contract, you
Pay your bills.
pay your
Right,
bills.
yeah.
But I'm like, I'm an idiot. I'm like, I'm losing $250,000 if I don't do this. Like that, I had to do it. I still like feel like wrong about it, but
You'll get
apparently
over
no
it.
repercussions. Nobody came after me. You know,
Just keep looking at your gold records and
Right.
your Emmys.
Yeah.
You're like, oh,
it all
I
worked.
am a
It all
good
worked out.
person.
It all-
Yeah.
I just look at my IRA account. It's more fun.
Oh, there you go.
Look at that.
How many times have you been on the news on television?
1, 2, like 4,
Four
5,
times.
5 times.
Most people just never make it
Yeah.
on the news.
I don't think I've ever been on the
So-
news.
Tell us a couple of stories of how and why you got on the news.
I used to think being on the news was very glamorous, and then I realized these people. I'm sorry if you have any newscasters watching your show. You don't have anybody watching, so it's okay.
That's true.
I feel like it's such a fail on life if you're like, I'm going to become a newscaster for like the local news. They're probably making like no money. They're probably making like 40 grand, 50 grand. Sure, it looks glamorous because they're on TV, but
Ron
like,
Burgundy.
yeah, the Ron Burgundys of the world are just not making any money.
I'm Ron Burgundy.
They're just, oh, it's so sad to me. And so I've been interviewed a handful of times. I'm kind of
Again, like you
a
know, this is like
narcissist.
you think you're lucky or something like.
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen to most people that they're
Be
on the news
news?
several times in their life.
Well, I'm trying to think. I know I can
For
think
different
of,
things.
I can
For
think
different
of.
things,
I can
totally
think of
different
4.
things.
So let me walk you through the
Okay,
4
all right,
times.
all
There may
right.
have been one more. Number 1 was this is great. So I was on this website. There's a website called Slick Deals. Have you heard of it?
No.
So it's a deal on anything. It's a forum. You go on there. Let's say you found a deal on a plane ticket. You go on there and say, "Hi, I found a deal on a plane ticket." People vote it up and down how good it is. It's an amazing website. You can get deals on anything. So every day I'm reading the site, seeing what's going on. I bought some deal. It was like a $10 Starbucks gift card for $5. Somebody posted on there. I clicked through. It wasn't Groupon, but it was some knockoff called Coupon Trade. And I bought a gift card. So I get an email from Coupon Trade. Like, I didn't even know who they were because I don't even remember the site. And they go, "Hey, we're coming to Vegas. We're looking for somebody to come on the news to talk about our site, Coupon Trade. Like, we want one of our users from Vegas." And I was like, okay, how can I extract money from this situation? I could say yes and go on the news, which sounds super fun.
I like that word.
Extract, yeah, that's
extract
poker.
money.
Extract value, right?
Okay.
So I emailed them back. I said, I would love to be part of this show. Like, send me the details. And they're like, great. Can you be at the studio at 7 a.m. on Monday? And I was like, no, I'm not. I'm going to wake up at 6 in the morning and go to the studio to like be on the news to help promote. And I was like, I'm going to like use my mastery of poker skill and psychology. I was like, oh man, that sounds really great. I just don't think I can afford, to like pay the gas to come across town and like, going to work an hour late. I don't have work. Gas like $2. So they write back and they go, what if we give you a $25 gas card for coming in and doing it? And I was like, that might work. I'll let you know. Let me sleep on it. And then I wake up the next morning. They're like, "How about a $50 gas card?" And I was like, "Sold."
You've got yourself a deal.
So I roll out of the station. And I meet like their marketing guy.
They took it out of the anchorman's salary.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was from the station. It was from the company. The company wanted me.
I know. I was just
Yeah.
joking with that.
So I go down there and I was like, "Listen, guys, I'm here to help you. What do you need me to say?" And they're like, "Really?" And they're like, "We've gone all over the country and had random people who aren't." I'm like, "I'm good at media. I understand. We're here to promote your product. Like, what do you want me to talk about?" And they're like, just say our name like a million fucking times. Just keep saying it. So the newscaster interviewed me. I'm like, oh, on coupontrade.com, you can go on here and you can buy your gift cards. And the great thing about Coupon Trade is, but I said like 18 times. These guys were like in the back, like they're like. So like after the thing, they're like, can you just like come with us on tour and like travel to other cities? I was like, listen, man, you pay me $50 gas card. I'm gonna give you what you pay for.
You work for $50 gas.
So they ran this like this B segment of this web. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. They ran this B segment, and it's me. I've never used their website. I had to. I'm like, show me how to use the website. Show me what I should click on. Like, what do you want me to talk about?
But you have a drawer full of $50 gas cards.
Yeah, it was great. So I think that was like probably the first time. I did one about couch surfing. There was a girl on couch surfing, and I've done all this couch surfing. Hey, you want to come and talk about your experiences? So I did that one, like an interview, same station actually in Vegas. And then the really interesting one, I had an emergency landing in Albany, New York, on the way from New York to Montreal. There was like a short in a cable, and there was like smoke in the cabin. So we had an emergency landing, and it was handled really well, and like wasn't super stressful. They were just like being cautious. So we're in the terminal waiting for the next plane. They said it's gonna be a couple hours. And this girl on the plane was like a former newscaster. And she says, hey, do you want to be on the news? I'm going to come out of the terminal and go and get interviewed. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So I went out and got interviewed about emergency landing and was like, I mean, that's big news in Albany, emergency landing there. So I was on the news for that.
It's
and
like
then
Sully.
The most recent one was the craziest one. So I've been driving Uber.
I saw that one.
Yeah, that one was pretty crazy. A passenger attacked me, and he was really drunk, really intoxicated. And I credit my poker training as like he's punching me in the side of the head, and I'm like, what do I do?
And you're driving your Uber?
I was pulled over to the side of the road, but my foot was on the brake.
Well, how did this whole thing start?
So I pick him up on the side of the road. It's like 1 a.m. on like a Thursday night, and one guy's
in San Diego.
In San Diego,
Okay.
And one guy's lying on the ground, and they're really drunk. And I have a rule in Uber, like if they can't even stand up, like just cancel the ride and drive away. It's not my problem. I'm not a babysitter.
Yeah.
I don't want to clean up puke. They don't want to pay the fee. It's just a bad situation. If you are drunk and you get in my car and you end up puking, that sucks. It barely happens, but that sucks. But if you can't even stand up, that's a liability that I don't want to deal with. Why should I deal with that? I'm going to cancel and move on to somebody else. I'm sorry. I learned that early on. But it was Thursday night. It wasn't Friday or Saturday night. I go, how drunk can these guys be? So I was trying to do the right thing and give them a ride home. I go 1 block and the guy in the back's puking his guts out. And I was like, pull out of the side of the road. I'm like, okay, ride's over, guys. You got to get out. And they didn't get out. I was like, guys, you need to get out of the car now. And the guy in the back's like just so drunk. He's puking. He was lying on the ground. He's probably barely conscious. The guy in the front should like be like, I've had this situation a couple of times, and they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, or like,
yeah, right.
And they get out of the car. I was like, you need to get out. And like, he's so drunk, I don't think he's like registering the words. I'm like, if you don't get out of the car, I'm calling 911. And he's like, call the fucking cops. I don't care. And I was like, oh shit. I'm like, this is new. And I was like,
and he's not getting out.
He's not getting out. I'm like, what do I do? I feel like if I call 911, he might start punching me in the head or something. Like I had this like weird feeling. And I was like, how do I de-escalate this? It's like, maybe if I lean over and open his passenger door, he'll like see the doors open and like be like, oh, he's serious. Like I'll get out. No, that's what set him off. I opened the door. He's like, don't fucking touch me. I'm like, I'm not touching you, man. I'm opening the door. You need to get out. And he just starts wailing on me. Started just punching me in the head. And I was like, okay. I was like, all right. So I had to get out. So I got out of the car. My phone's in the mount. I just bailed. I'm like, I just got to get out. He's just like, he won't stop hitting me. I'm going to like go call 911. And
But wait a second. Your car was in drive.
That's
was it
the
automatic?
problem. Yeah.
It was in drive. Your
Yeah.
foot was on the brake. So
Yeah,
you
I didn't
got
realize
out.
that.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
thought normally like my car's in park, you pull
Yeah.
up, but it happened so quick because they got in the car, they're puking. I was like,
So your
get
foot was
out.
just on the brake.
Well, because I'm expecting sometimes there's a verbal fight when they're like getting kicked out of the car, and I want to, as soon as they get out of the car, I'm gonna hightail out of there, whether the door's closed or not. Like I don't need to escalate into a fight. So it's not in park because I'm gonna bail very quickly when they get out of the car. Because I don't want an altercation. I've played this game before. I know how it works.
So you jump out of the car.
So I jump out of the
They're
car.
still in the car.
They're still in the car. And I turn around as I'm like halfway down the block to see if they've jumped out and chasing me or what's going on. And I see the car rolling away. And I was like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, there's nobody in the street. I see it's going towards like a brick wall. And I was like, that's a problem for future me to deal with. That's not a problem for now.
Future me.
I was like, nah.
And did they get out of the car at that point?
They were still in the car when the car was rolling away. They crashed in the car for sure.
They crashed while
Yeah.
it hit
I mean,
the
it's
brick wall
going
with
it's
them.
going like
Slowly.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I run down the street. A guy slams the door in my face when I'm like, call 911. He's like, no. And I was like, okay. So I found another guy. He calls 911.
Oh, you knocked on houses.
Yeah. Because
Okay.
my phone's in the car.
Oh, wow.
So I knocked on a house. The guy's like, no.
1
I'm like,
a.m.
Wow. Yeah. Find a guy driving in the street. He's like, come inside. We call 911. They're like, yeah, the cops are on the scene now. You can go back over there. We go back over there. The guys have fled. The guy dropped his phone in the back seat of the car. One of the guy's shoes was off. I assume the guy in the back who was so drunk. They had slices of pizza, and the pizza was like everywhere in the car. They dropped the pizza. So yeah, the news was like on the site. They like follow the cops around for interesting stories, and they wanted to interview me right then. And I was like, no, like I just got hit. I'm gonna have a huge headache tomorrow. Like, I'm like, give me the card. I'll call you guys tomorrow, and like if you want to do like an interview tomorrow, when I'll shower, I'll shave, I'll think about what I want to say. And I decided it was a strategic move to talk positively about Uber to get them to be an ally. And so that was my fourth time on the news, was like talking. And it was funny because like I didn't tell my parents because I didn't want them to be like really concerned about it. So I was like, I mean, I'm just not going to mention it. And like,
they got to watch the 6 p.m.
My
news.
dad saw it on CNN. It made it to CNN. He's like, oh, look, honey, there's a guy with the same last name. Oh, that's my son. So he calls me. I was like, oh my God, CNN picked it up? Like, come on. It's like not that big of a story. Like, Uber drivers get accosted now and then. It's not good, but cool. My mom like freaked out for like a half a second. She's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, Mom, think about it. Where am I safer? In my vehicle where they're tracked and everything, or like walking down the street where some guy could, like, it's this one random guy out of like 10,000 rides. Like, I'm fine. It's totally safe. Like,
but people, I mean, this is like the same thing with terrorism. People worry that the 1 in a million shot is going to affect them.
Don't leave your house then. Like, you know.
Yeah.
But if you leave your house, like that. But you can have a plane land in your head. Like, you know, like if it's your time, it's your time. There's nothing you can do.
Just something that it's not worth worrying about. It's a low risk situation, right?
I think
same thing with couch surfing you mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, couch surfing. You can, I mean, couldn't that guy be a murderer? I mean, that's a very American mentality. Yeah, he could be a murderer. So could the guy that serves you at lunch, and you didn't tip him. So now he's gonna follow you down the street.
Poisoned your food.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, stop going to restaurants.
How often do these things happen where like you get murdered at a couch surfing? Are there Uber drivers that have raped their passengers? Are there passengers that have attacked Uber drivers? Yes. Is that the norm? No. Are there taxi drivers that have raped their passengers? Sure. Is it the norm? No. I'm still going to get in a taxi. Like, we're talking like tiny percentages. If you're scared of like one thing, it's a very easy road to be like, well, I'm just going to avoid, you know, I'm not going to drive Uber now because somebody might attack me. Okay, well, I'm not going to go to a restaurant because he might poison me. And then then you just all of a sudden you're living in your house as a hermit. Yeah. When you're scared to go outside.
That's when the airplane hits the house.
Right, exactly. Exactly. So you build like an underground bunker in your house, and then you like stock it with like 10 years worth of food for a nuclear holocaust.
You die of a gas leak.
Right. That's very fitting.
So you're a very driven guy. So what's your passion right now?
I was driven. This is what I was telling you before. Like I did so much up until this point. Like I have 120 years worth of stories now. I'm just like, I'm driving Uber because it's easy and it's relaxing. I can like turn it on, turn it off when I want. Having conversations with people, it doesn't feel like work. Until that becomes not lucrative financially, or I become bored with it like I did all my other careers, I don't have a plan. And if you look back at my history, I never had a plan. I never like, oh, I'm going to go out on tour now for 4 years. I was just like, hey, can you take me on tour? That sounds like fun. And I fell into this career.
It's followed your bliss.
You mentioned like having these stories when you die, you want to be able to look back on it and say you lived a full life, that sort of thing. So let's say you were going to die now. Someone poisons your food. The airplane's coming. Whatever.
Gas leak.
Is it's almost coming. What's the wisest thing you could tell people? What have you learned over the years? What parting words can you offer us?
So I'm not going to answer that question, but I'm going to ask you something else. You ever seen a movie called Defending Your Life?
No.
Okay. You need to watch this movie. It's one of my favorite movies. In the movie, I don't want to give away too much, but the guy dies right away, the movie, and he goes to this, like, it's called Judgment City, and they decide whether you've conquered all your fears and you're ready to move on to the next life, and if you don't, you go back to Earth and you try again. Mm-hmm. And some people are on their first life where they're just, like, floating through the world. Some people are on their, like, 7th or 8th life, and they finally, like, mastered it, and they say, okay, you go on to the next world. They don't define what it is. Amazing movie. It's like a sci-fi movie, but it's disguised as a rom-com. Mm-hmm. I think I'm on, like, my first or second life. I'm floating through life, having fun, like... I don't have answers. I don't have like, I'm probably going to go back and try again on Earth, you know? I'm not helping the world. I'm not doing anything profound. I'm just like a little kid in the whole sense of things. I'm having fun. To me, the point of life is to have the most fun before you die. And like I said, have the best stories because that means you lived a full life and you enjoyed yourself. People that work or whatever their whole life and then they're retired or whatever and then they're too old to enjoy their time off. To me, that doesn't seem like a fun existence.
Did you ever feel like you're avoiding growing up?
Yeah, Absolutely. I mean, everybody always looks back at their childhood as like the best time ever. I don't know. I just want to have fun. Like, I feel like that if you can't have fun in your whole life, if you're not enjoying your existence, then like, what's the point? I feel like that's the point, is to have fun in like whatever you're doing. If you're not having fun, if you're like living this life and you're just like, I'm miserable, I'm stuck in this, so leave it and figure something else out. I mean, most people are smart enough to like figure out a new career that's going to be fun and exciting, or I don't know. There's always ways. I mean, I'm driving freaking Uber. I figured out a way to make Uber into a decent living. I'm having fun, I like people, it works great for me. If you like people, quit your job and go drive Uber. Like, and there's plenty of people that have done that and are probably having a better quality of life because of it.
Do you get money for saying this from Uber?
No.
You should.
Yeah, right.
A great commercial.
I'm just
Your creed. You said you have
my
a
creed is have fun and like end with the best stories. It means you lived a full life. I'm pretty sure like when I sit there and like tell stories about Blink-182 and this and that, I mean, like a lot of luck that it happens to be about Blink-182, but like, I don't know.
Record.
You got some cool stories. You've lived a full life. You've done some cool stuff. Like, I don't know about you. I have no idea if you have good stories.
That's all right.
Do you have good stories?
Yeah, a few.
I got some really good ones.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I feel like that's the point. Like, maybe there's a greater meaning in there. Like, do you think there's a greater meaning to like? Am I supposed to be like helping, starving children in Nigeria? Is that like the purpose of life, to like?
I think there is a way for you to move ahead. I think there's something that you could do. Maybe think more about other people, for example.
Fuck other people. No, I'm just kidding. It's all about me.
Well,
No,
I say,
yeah.
what if you think about serving a greater cause or serving other people, and maybe expanding your thinking a little bit? Like maybe that's the next step. For you,
Yeah.
right. If you're feeling bored or whatever, try that. Try. And you said you've developed your empathy,
Right.
and maybe that's the road you're on. Maybe that was the road you were meant to be on. It was to see the rest of the world and see how people live, talk to everybody,
Right.
and something is growing and something is developing along that, and maybe you have to somehow think about that and transform that into the next step.
I mean, to be honest, driving Uber, like, I feel like I do more than just driving from A to B. I get a lot of comments, "Oh, you're the best Uber driver I've ever had." Because we're the new like bartender psychologists.
Yeah.
I'm helping people with their problems. I'm listening. I'm engaging them. I like to think that when they get in my car, if we have a conversation, that like I'm helping them out. If they're crying, I want to know what's wrong. I'm going to console them. I told this girl last week she broke up with her boyfriend, and she was like, "I'm like, you're a beautiful girl. You're young. You can get any guy." And she's like, "Thank you so much. Like, I needed that." And I was like, "I'm just telling the truth. Like, I'm not even telling you to make you feel better. Like, this is just truth." And like, I don't know. I like to think I'm helping a little bit. Maybe it's not super noble, but like one by one, I'm helping people with their little problems when I can. That's like, I guess it's kind of good.
You
Right?
make people's days a little bit better.
I try. I definitely make some people's days worse, but I try to make them better.
I think that's what we're trying to do a little bit here on
Yeah.
this podcast.
Make my people's lives better.
A little bit,
Yeah.
maybe one of our 50 viewers at a time, or whatever.
I mean, now it's gonna be like 51. My mom's gonna watch.
Excellent.
Did I say bad things about mom? I can't tell her about this. I don't think there's some dirty stories, right?
We can edit that out.
Yeah.
All right, Rob. Louis, you have anything else to add?
Oh, man, thanks a lot for doing this.
Oh, thanks for having me. This is fun. This is a great way to spend the day in Prague.
Yeah.
All right, thanks, Rob. You're welcome back anytime.
Sweet.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Do This With Your Life. Now, I've got a question for you. Do you know anyone specifically that you think this episode could help? If so, please share this podcast with that person. The purpose of this show is to help people overcome challenges, solve problems, and take the next step in life. If you think that's a worthy cause, please visit our website, dothispodcast.com, and click on the button to become a patron of our show. Any little donation helps. We're also on Facebook and Twitter. There you can follow us, you can leave comments, ideas for future shows, and receive notifications every time we release an episode. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and remember, you are the reason we do this podcast.